नाथाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुन्धारिणं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं चैतन्येश्वरम्। कथाञ्चन स्मृते यस्मिन् दुष्करं सुकरं भवेत् स्मृते प्रीतं स्यात् श्रीचैतन्यं नमामि तम्। Okay. Yes, so Nandapatni Mataji, would you be reading today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I can read, or if anyone else wants to read, that's also okay.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay. So, Prabhuji, if you remember, we need to start from here, right? When we speak of desires not connected with Krishna.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. When we speak of desires not connected with Krishna or non-Krishna, this does not mean that anything exists without Krishna. Actually, there cannot be anything non-Krishna because everything is a product of the energy of Krishna. Since Krishna and his energy is identical, everything is Krishna indirectly. For example, consciousness is common to every living entity, but when consciousness is centered solely on Krishna, that is Krishna consciousness, it is pure, and when consciousness is centered on something other than Krishna, or when it is directed to sense gratification, it may be called non-Krishna consciousness. Thus, it is in the polluted state that the conception of non-Krishna comes. In the pure state, however, there is nothing but Krishna consciousness.
One thing that you need to remember here is that this is our conception of the absolute truth, and well, it's not just our conception. This is the absolute truth. When I say our conception, I was trying to contrast it with the conceptions held in. I was trying to contrast it with the conceptions held in other regions of our planet, where some places, some denominations of religious denominations, they consider God to be a controller. Then you have a competitor, enemy of God. These kind of conceptions that exist, God and the devil and things like that. According to the Vedic understanding, even the competitor of God derives the strength from God. So God is a source of strength of even the competitor of God, Hiranyakashipu, for example. Right. So there is nothing that exists that is independent of the Lord. Everything is an emanation from the Lord. That's why the Bhagavatam begins with Janmadhyasya Yataha. He from whom everything emanates. So everything emanates from God. So there is nothing in this universe which cannot be attributed, whose origin cannot be attributed to God. Everything originates from God, not just gross material objects, but even this mind, the intelligence. Every single element of creation is a manifestation from God. Then we could say, are we also manifestations from God? Yes. Mamaivaamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha. All manifestations of God need not be identical with God. So we are also manifestations from God, but we are not identical with God. Whatever we have, God has. But God also has more than what we have. So that's the understanding. Whatever we have, God also has. But God also has more than what we have. So there is nothing in this world which has something which God does not have. So okay, you could say God does not have envy. That's correct. But envy is a perverted form of love. So God has love. So I mean, I'm not talking about transformations. I'm talking about the substance itself. So that there's no substance that we have which God does not have. So, but whereas God has some things which we don't have. For example, God has all these qualities that we have to an unlimited degree, but we have it in minute. So we are infinitesimal. God is infinite. So that's it. God has, I mean, of course, we only have 78% of the qualities of God, or 50 qualities out of 64 qualities of God. God has a 14 more extra qualities. So like that. But basically, there is nothing in this world, animate or inanimate, which does not have its origin from God. So that's why he's called as the cause of all causes. He's not just the controller, but he is the cause of everything that exists. He's the cause of every cause of this material world. So that's why this non-Krishna does not make sense, because that's why Prabhupada is trying to explain there's no such thing as non-Krishna. Everything is an emanation from Krishna. It may not be identical to Krishna, but it's an emanation from Krishna. Okay, please go ahead. We'll take questions at the end.
Sure. Active interest in Krishna, the understanding that Krishna is mine and that I am Krishna's, and that my business is therefore to satisfy the senses of Krishna, is typical of a higher stage than the neutrality of Shantarasa. Simply by understanding the greatness of Krishna, one achieves the status of Shantarasa, in which the worshipable object may be the impersonal Brahman or Paramatma. Worship of the impersonal Brahman and the Paramatma is conducted by those engaged in empiric philosophical speculation and mystic yoga. But when one develops even further in Krishna consciousness, I'm so sorry. But when one develops even further in Krishna consciousness or spiritual understanding, he can appreciate that the Paramatma, the Super Soul, is his eternal worshipable object and master, and he surrenders unto him. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Bhagavad Gita 7.19. After many births of worshipping Brahman and Paramatma, when one surrenders unto Vasudev as the Supreme Master and accepts himself as the eternal servant of Vasudev, he becomes a great transcendentally realized soul. At that time, due to his intimate relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth, the devotee begins to render some sort of transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the neutral relationship known as Shantirasa is transformed into Dasya Rasa, servitorship. On the platform of Dasya Rasa, one exhibits the greatest quality of awe and veneration for the Supreme Lord. That is, in Dasya Rasa, one appreciates the greatness of the Supreme Lord. It should be noted here that on the platform of Shantarasa, there is no spiritual activity. But on the platform of Dasya Rasa, service begins. Thus, in Dasya Rasa, the quality of Shantarasa is exhibited. And in addition, there is consciousness of the transcendental taste of service. In Sakhya Rasa, which is fraternity, the transcendental qualities of Shanta Rasa and Dasya Rasa are certainly present. But beyond these, there is another quality, confidential attachment, which is pure transcendental love. This confidential attachment for the Supreme Personality is technically known as Vishrambha. On the platform of Vishrambha, there is no sense of awe or veneration toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, in the transcendental fraternal relationship, Sakhya Rasa, there are three transcendental characteristics: the sense of greatness, the sense of service, and the sense of intimacy without awe or veneration. Thus, Sakhya Rasa adds one transcendental quality to the qualities of Shanta and Dasya Rasa. Similarly, on the platform of parental affection, Vatsalya Rasa, there are four qualities. In addition to the three qualities already mentioned, there is the sense that the Supreme Lord is dependent on the mercy of the devotee. As a parent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee sometimes chastises the Lord and considers himself the Lord's maintainer. This transcendental sense of being the maintainer of the Supreme Maintainer is very pleasing to both the devotee and the Supreme Lord. The Lord instructed Srila Rupa Goswami to write the transcendental literature named Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the science of devotional service, and indicate therein the substance of the five transcendental relationships with the Lord: Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhuraras. It is explained in that great literature how the transcendental relationship of Shantarasa, taking this shape of unflinching faith in Krishna, is further developed into Dasya Ras with the spirit of service, and then to Sakhya Ras or undeterred fraternity, and further to the transcendental platform of parental love, wherein one feels himself to be maintaining the Lord. All these transcendental relationships culminate on the highest platform, conjugal love, Madhura Rasa, wherein they all exist simultaneously. That's the end of the chapter, Guruji.
Okay, any thoughts, questions? I just spoke briefly. Are there any questions on that or any other comments, reflections? Only Krishna consciousness provides this glimpse of anything beyond dasya. So there is no conception of such this thing in any part of the world except in Krishna consciousness, that one can be the friend of God, one can be the parent of God, one can be the lover of God. This concept is not there. There's generally the concept of dasya. That's all.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Yes.
Prabhuji, this Shantaras or Dasyaras, that like in our process that we are trying to purify ourselves by chanting, and so what do we I mean we have this mood, we don't know which mood do we have with Krishna, what relationship do we have with Krishna. So what is this state called?
Conditioned state.
Yeah, conditioned state. Yes. Yes. As in
So,
how do we, yes. Yes.
yeah, see, it is not that, uh, like, for example, Uddhava, he is not in a conjugal relationship with the Supreme Lord, you know. So, but when he goes to Vrindavan, he becomes overwhelmed by seeing the mood of the gopis, their feelings of separation, their attitude of service to the Lord. So it's not that if one is in a particular relationship with the Supreme Lord, one does not have any access to any other form of relationship. It's not necessarily true. It's like, so for example, Uddhava is a very good example of that. Uddhava is not situated in a conjugal relationship with Krishna. But still, when he goes to Vrindavan, he experiences what the gopi, of course. I mean, yeah, you could say he, he, he experiences the feelings of the gopis because, of course, through their what do you call it? Through their relationship with Krishna, which they speak to him, so he's able to experience a certain this experience. Let me put it like experience the nature of that relationship. It's not that he may not be situated in that relationship, but he's able to experience the nature of that relationship with Krishna by hearing from the gopis or seeing their example. So similarly, I mean, of course, it's a given that if you are in Sakya Rasa, obviously Sakya includes Dasya and Shanta. So obviously you would know about Sakya and Dasya. Sorry, you would know about Dasya and Shanta. If you are in Sakya, it already includes Dasya and Shantarasa. So the question is normally what happens if you are in a rasa, anything lower than the gopis of Vrindavan. Still, one is not. It's not like there's a wall and there's a curtain, and that's it. We don't know anything about it. That's why everybody has access to the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis in Vrindavan in the Bhagavatam. So that is the nature of bhakti, that you may have access to everything, but at the same time, does not mean that you are established in that relationship. So you get established in the relationship with which is your constitutional nature.
Okay, Bhaji. Okay, thank you.
It's like, how do you say, somebody may not have a child, but they can see other parents, or when we are young or whatever. No? We may not have experienced parenthood, but then we see our parents, we see others. So we get some glimpse of it. It's not that, but when you become a parent, it is of a certain kind. But then even before that, it's not that you have no idea, no clue, whatever. You have appreciation. Okay, my parents love me very much, or look at these parents; they're taking good care of their children. You have some sense of appreciation of that relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
Even if we are not established in that relationship at this point in time, still you have some. But once you're established, that's a different. It takes on a different. Yeah, it takes on a certain magnitude, but that magnitude may not be present when you are not in that relationship. But still, you have a sense of the relationship. That's why, see, if they don't have a sense of the relationship, why do the others even consider gopis to be the highest? Everybody knows that the gopis are the highest. But if they don't have a sense of the relationship, how is it even possible to consider them to be the highest? Is that okay? Also, I was reading that. I mean, I need to look for the reference though. There is a book on Ekachakra written by a god sister of ours. So I was just reading that I'd been to Ekachakra this week. So I was just reading that book in the bookstall. I went through a first few pages. So there she mentions how in the conditioned stage, also one develops some feelings. That's more like shadow. Shadow means that give. I mean, I need to find where the references for all these things, but she brings it up there that you develop some feelings. These are not. She calls them shadow. I don't. Okay. Anyway, so but when one is established in one's relationship with Krishna, then they fully manifest. Even the conditioned stage, one develops a kind of a shadow attraction for them. And that shadow attraction drives us in Krishna consciousness. I need to verify this whole reference, but I'm just telling you that I read something like this. She's not, she's a scholarly person, so probably she has some references from where she's quoting. So I just need to look them up. But that, I mean, it piqued my interest to check that further. Okay, Nandapatni Mataji, we can go ahead to the next chapter.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question here?
Yes.
Prabhuji, about all these rasas, when it's said in the end that all these relationships culminate on the highest platform of conjugal love, I think we've had this discussion earlier also, but I'll still want to understand more. Is that is it like a staircase that from one relationship to the other the soul can move, or how does it work? Like we have an eternal relationship with Krishna in one of these rasas, or that we can start with one rasa in the liberated state. The soul starts with one rasa and then moves up to the others.
See, the general understanding of rasa is that it's fixed. Now, whether it is fixed, sometimes debated based on Prabhupada's own books, but general understanding is it's fixed. So for example, we see that Murari Gupta was Hanuman in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. He's a associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he sticks with his devotion to Lord Ramachandra, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciates it. So that's an important understanding. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us Madhurya Rasa. So all his associates are situated in Madhurya Rasa, or I mean, some people have that. At least logically, it should be like that or whatever. But then we see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciates Murari Gupta so much. So constitutional nature is generally defined as fixed. Whether it is changeable or I mean that's a very deep subject matter, which is not easily it's not very clear from our Acharya's writings whether it's possible or not. There seems to be some hints here and there, but we can't take that as definitive because we are not, unless Prabhupada himself has been asked this question explicitly. I've not seen that question asked either to Prabhupada or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or anyone explicitly. So we don't have an explicit answer. So therefore, but the general thing is, yes, it's considered to be fixed. But there are hints that it could be changeable also. But when it says that Madhurya Rasa is highest, what it means is that, I mean, as we read here, it is the complete manifestation of love because it includes all other elements also. It includes Shanta, it includes Dasya, it includes Sakya, it includes Vatsalya, it includes Madhurya. I'm sorry, includes Vatsalya. So it is like the complete manifestation of love. Not that any form of love is imperfect. All forms of love are perfect, but it is higher perfect. That's it. I don't know how to. I mean, it's beyond our conception because Yeah, because we always deal in the realm of shortages, one thing short. So we also tend to conceptualize it as one thing short. Like for example, if somebody is in Vatsal Rasa, we may conceptualize it as one thing short of one thing short of Madhurya. But then in the absolute world, the concept of short, I mean, one thing short, this concept of something being missing is not there, because as Prabhupada explains, in the spiritual world, everything is perfect. So it's perfect, more perfect, most perfect. So what does it mean? It's beyond the conception of our mundane minds, because we are used to the conception of duality, of lack, and I mean, it's driven by duality. There is some shortage and there is something surplus. Shortage and surplus. We have that kind of a conditioned mind. So it's difficult for us to conceive of it. So we can only conceive of it through the soul, and that conception arises only when we become perfect. Soul has to be perfectly situated. Otherwise, the soul will be seeing through matter. It would be identifying with matter, and when it identifies with matter, it only thinks in terms of surplus and shortages. But unless the soul is free from that conception of duality and situated in oneself as the perfect soul engaged in the service of the Lord, we cannot understand what it means to say that Madhurya Rasa is the highest manifestation law. But we can at least for sure we know that it has all the features. That's all. Whereas Vatsalya does not have all the features. Does not have all the features does not mean it is short. I don't know how to put it. It's that's because of our conception that we will think that this is short. Like Prabhupada said that because there's no concept of shortness, therefore Mother Yashoda or those who are established in Vatsalya Ras or even Sakya Ras, they don't necessarily think, let me become Gopi. They don't think like that. Like Prabhupada gave the example that why does a mother like its own child more than other children? Although the mother may be able to see that some other child is more talented than my own child, some other child is more beautiful than my own child, whatever. Although the mother may perceive it, but still the mother prefers to stick with one's own child. Correct? So like that. So it is not that in the spiritual, Prabhupada himself gave this example. So therefore, it is not that in the spiritual world one cannot see that Madhurya is the highest. They know that, but that does not mean that they automatically develop a desire. Oh, I am situated in the lower. Let me go to higher. So that concept of lower is not there. The concept of already perfectness and fullness is already there. You could say it is more full, but I don't know how to put it. So when I say full or perfect, I mean there's nothing missed, no deficiency. Is it okay?
Yes, Rahoji, absolutely. Thank you. Start sharing. We're starting with chapter 2. Sanatan Goswami. Vande Anantad Bhutaishwaryam Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhum Nichopi Yat Prasadat Syat Bhakti Shastra Pravartakaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even a person in the lowest status of life can find direction in transcendental devotional service to the Lord. After Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order of life, sannyas, he traveled all over India. During this period, he went to Daha, a district in Bengal. In that area, There was a village named Ramkeli, where two government ministers of the Nawab Hussain Shah's regime lived. These two ministers, who were brothers, were named Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik. Later, they were renamed Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, respectively. They had a chance to meet Lord Chaitanya, and afterward, they decided to retire from government service and join his Sankirtan movement. Upon making this decision, the two brothers at once took steps to leave their material engagements, and they appointed two learned Brahmins to perform certain Vedic religious rituals that would enable them to achieve complete freedom for the devotional service of Krishna. These preliminary ritualistic functions are known as Purashcharya. They require that 3 times a day one worship and offer respects to one's forefathers, offer oblations to a fire, and respectfully offer food to a learned Brahman. 5 items: the time, the worship, the offering of respect, the offering of oblations into the fire, and the offering of food to the Brahman constitute Purashcharya. These and other rituals are mentioned in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, an authoritative book of directions for Vaishnavas. After arranging for the performance of these religious rituals, the young brother, the Bir Khas, which is Rupa Goswami, returned home with an immense amount of money which he had acquired during his government service. The silver and gold coins he brought back filled a large boat. After arriving home, he first divided the accumulated wealth in half and distributed one part to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas. Thus, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he distributed 50% of his accumulated wealth to persons engaged in the Supreme Lord's transcendental loving service. Brahmanas are meant to understand the absolute truth, and once they understand the absolute truth and actually engage in the loving service of the Lord, they are known as Vaishnavas. Both Brahmins and Vaishnavas are supposed to fully engage in transcendental service, and Rupa Goswami, considering their important transcendental position, gave them 50% wealth. The balance he again divided in half. One part he distributed to his relatives and dependent family members, and the other he kept for personal emergencies. Personal wealth is very instructive for all who desire to be elevated in spiritual knowledge. Generally, a person bequeaths all his accumulated wealth to his family members and then retires from family activities to make progress in spiritual knowledge. But here we find the behavior of Rupa Goswami to be exemplary. He gave 50% of his wealth for spiritual purposes. This should serve as an example for everyone. The 25% of his accumulated wealth he kept for personal emergencies was deposited with a Bengali grocer, since in those days there were no banks. 10,000 coins were deposited for expenditures to be incurred by his elder brother, Sanatan Goswami. At this time, Rupa Goswami received information that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu...
Can you just pause for a minute? So, okay, sometimes we hear the opinion that this formula is only for those who are retiring. So, at the time of retirement, one can apply this formula. However, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada does not specify about retirement. I look up the exact purport in the first canto, where Prabhupada speaks about. Uh, it's 1 minute. I think I have it here. Just give me a second. Masi, can you just put the on the share screen Bhagavatam 1536. 1536 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So just give me a moment.
$36. You can read the text translation in purport.
Yes, Swati. While performing duties according to the order of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one constantly remembers him, his names, and his qualities. Purport. An expert devotee of the Lord can mold his life in such a way that while performing all kinds of duties, either for this or the next life, he can constantly remember the Lord's name, fame, qualities, etc. The order of the Lord is distinctly there in the Bhagavad Gita. One should work only for the Lord in all spheres of life. In every sphere of life, the Lord should be situated as the proprietor. According to Vedic rites, even in the worship of some demigods like Indra, Brahma, Saraswati, and Ganesha, the system is that in all circumstances, the representation of Vishnu must be there as Yajneshwar or the controlling power of such sacrifices. It is recommended that a particular demigod be worshipped for a particular purpose, but still the presence of Vishnu is compulsory in order to make the function proper. Apart from such Vedic duties, even in our ordinary dealings, for example, in our household affairs or in our business profession, we must consider that the result of all activities must be given over to the Supreme Enjoyer, Lord Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has declared himself to be the supreme enjoyer of everything, the supreme proprietor of every planet, and the supreme friend of all beings. No one else but Lord Sri Krishna can claim to be the proprietor of everything within his creation. A pure devotee remembers this constantly, and in doing so, he repeats the transcendental name, fame, and qualities of the Lord, which means that he is constantly in touch with the Lord. The Lord is identical with his name, fame, etc., and therefore to be associated with his name, fame, etc., constantly means actually to associate with the Lord. The major portion of our monetary income, not less than 50%, must be spent to carry out the order of the Lord, to carry out the order of Lord Krishna. Not only should we give the profit of our earning to this cause, but we must also arrange to preach this cult of devotion to others, because that is also one of the orders of the Lord. The Lord definitely says that no one is more dear to him than one who is always engaged in the preaching work of the Lord's name and fame all over the world. The scientific discoveries of the material world can also be equally engaged in carrying out his order. He wants the message of Bhagavad Gita to be preached among his devotees. It may not be so done amongst those who have no credit of austerities, charity, education, etc. Therefore, the attempt must go on to convert unwilling men to become his devotees. Lord Chaitanya has taught a very simple method in this connection. He has taught the lesson for preaching the transcendental message through singing, dancing, and refreshment. As such, 50% of our income may be spent for this purpose. In this fallen age of quarrel and dissension, if only the leading and wealthy persons of the society agree to spend 50% of their income in the service of the Lord, as it is taught by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is absolute certainty of converting this hell of pandemonium to the transcendental abode of the Lord. No one will disagree to partake in a function where good singing, dancing, and refreshment are administered. Everyone will attend such a function, and everyone is sure to feel individually the transcendental presence of the Lord. This alone will help the attendants associate with the Lord and thereby purify themselves in spiritual realization. The only condition for successfully executing such spiritual activities is that they must be conducted under the guidance of a pure devotee who is completely free from all mundane desires, fruitive activities, and dry speculations about the nature of the Lord. No one has to discover the nature of the Lord. It is already spoken by the Lord Himself in the Bhagavad Gita, especially, and in all other Vedic literatures generally. We have simply to accept them in toto and abide by the orders of the Lord. That will guide us to the path of perfection. One can remain in his own position. No one has to change his position, especially in this age of variegated difficulties. The only condition is that one must give up the habit of dry speculation aimed at becoming one with the Lord. And after giving up such lofty, puffed up vanities, one may very submissively receive the orders of the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam from the lips of a bona fide devotee whose qualification is mentioned above. That will make everything successful without a doubt. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So you saw here that how he's talking about people's everyday life. So He's talking about people leading everyday life. There also he's speaking about monetary income not less than 50%. Of course, if one is not able to do that, that's a different thing altogether. But basically, here it's very clear that he's not referring to some at the end of life, one's retirement should be engaged like this. This is not what he's saying. He's talking about one's monetary income, and he's referring to all classes of men, especially those who have got they have got that. All the more they have that obligation of spending 50% of their income. I hope this is clear now from this purport. So it's not retirement income; it is monetary income. That's it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you can go ahead, Mati. I just wanted to clarify that. No, but what does one do if he's not able to do that? That's okay. But one has to have that as the goal. That's okay in the sense that, okay, one can do whatever one can do right now. But the tendency of ignoring it should not be there. Okay, this is the standard. One day I want to reach the standard. I don't know when, but I want to come up to that standard sometime. By the Lord's grace only, you can come up to that standard also. Because life is complicated in this age that we live in. So everyone's circumstance is different. So it's very difficult to say what exactly is 50%, because somebody may be staying in their own house, somebody may be staying in some rental income. So what is to be deducted, what is not? This is like the income tax rules. It's like you have different kinds of deductions and this and that and all that. So that needs to have someone needs to be experienced to be able to guide us. So anyway, I'm just talking about the principle that it's applicable to all of us. It's not only for Rupa Goswami who was retiring or someone who's going to retire. The principle is applicable for everyone. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so at this time, Rupa Goswami received information that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was preparing to go to Vrindavan from Jagannath Puri. Rupa Goswami sent 2 messengers to get actual information of the Lord's itinerary, and he made his own plans to go to Mathura to meet the Lord. It appears that Rupa Goswami got permission to join Lord Chaitanya, but Sanatan Goswami did not. Therefore, Sanatan Goswami entrusted the responsibilities of his government service to his immediate assistants, and he remained at home to study Srimad Bhagavatam. He engaged 10 or 20 learned Brahmins and began an intensive study of Srimad Bhagavatam in their company. While he was thus engaged, he submitted sick leave reports to his employer, the Nawab. But the ruler was so anxious for Sanatan Goswami's advice in government matters that one day he suddenly appeared at his house. When the Nawab entered the room where Sanatan Goswami and the Brahmanas were assembled, out of respect, they all stood up to receive him, and they offered him a place to sit. You have submitted sick reports, the Nawab told Sanatan Goswami. But I sent my physician to see you, and he reported that you have no illness at all. Since I did not know why you were submitting sick reports and now attending to your service, I have personally come to see you. Sorry, and not attending to your service, I have personally come to see you. I am much perturbed by your behavior. As you know, I completely depend on you and your responsible work in government. I was free to act in other matters because I was depending on you. But if you do not join me, your past devotion will be spoiled. Now, what is your intention? Please tell me. On hearing this, Sanatan Goswami replied that he was unable to work anymore and that it would be very kind of the Nawab to appoint someone else to execute the work that has been entrusted to him. At this, the Nawab became very angry and said, "Your elder brother lives like a hunter, and if you retire from the administration, everything will be finished." It was said that the Nawab used to treat Sanatan Goswami like a younger brother. Since the Nawab was principally engaged in conquering different parts of the country and also in hunting, he depended largely on Sanatan Goswami for government administration. Thus, he pleaded with him, if you retire from government service, how will the administration be run? You are the governor of God, Sanatan Goswami replied very gravely, and you punish different kinds of criminals in different ways. So you are at liberty to punish anyone according to his activity. By this reply, Sanatan Goswami indicated that since the governor was engaged in hunting animals and in killing men to expand his kingdom, let both of them suffer according to the acts they were performing. The Nawab, being intelligent, understood Sanatan Goswami's purport. He left the house in an angry mood, and shortly afterward he went off to conquer Orissa. He ordered the arrest of Sanatan Goswami and commanded that he be held until the Nawab returned. When Rupa Goswami learned that the Nawab had arrested his elder brother Sanatan, Rup sent Sanatan a message that he could use the 10,000 coins in the care of the Bengali grocer to secure his release from the Nawab's detention. Having sent this message, Rup departed for Vrindavan with his younger brother Vallabh to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After receiving Rup Goswami's message, Sanatan offered 5,000 of the coins to the keeper of the jail in which he was being held in custody. He advised the jailkeeper to gladly accept the 5,000 coins from him and let him go, because by accepting the money, he would not only be materially benefited, but would also be acting very righteously by freeing Sanatan for spiritual purposes. Of course, I would like to let you go, the jailkeeper replied, for you have done many services for me, and you are in government service. But I am afraid of the Nawab. When he hears that you are free, I will have to explain everything to him. How can I accept such a proposal? Sanatan then invented a story the jailkeeper might submit to the Nawab to explain how he had escaped, and he raised his offer to 10,000 coins. Anxious to get the money, the jailkeeper agreed to the proposition and let him go. Sanatan then departed to see the Lord. He did not travel on the open road but went through the jungles until he arrived at a place in Bihar called Patada. There he rested in a hotel, but the hotel keeper was informed by an astrologer employed there that Sanatan Goswami had some gold coins with him. The hotel keeper, wanting to steal the money, spoke to Sanatan with superficial respect. Just take your rest tonight, and in the morning I shall arrange for you to get out of this jungle trap. However, Sanatan was suspicious of his behavior, and he inquired from his servant Ishan whether he had some money. Ishan told him that he had 7 gold coins. Sanatan did not like the idea of the servant carrying such money. He became angry with him and said, "Why do you carry this death knell on the road?" Sanatan at once took the gold coins and offered them to the hotel keeper. He then requested the hotel keeper to help him through the jungle. Sanatan informed him that he was on a special journey for the government, and that since he could not travel on the open road, it would be very kind of the hotel keeper to help him through the jungle and over the hills. The hotel keeper replied, "I learned that you had 8 coins with you, and I was thinking of killing you to take them. but I can understand that you are a very good man, and so you don't have to offer me the money. I will get you over this hilly tract of the land. If you don't accept these coins, then someone else will take them from me, Sanatan replied. Someone will kill me for them, so it is better that you take them. I offer them to you. The hotel keeper then gave him full assistance, and that very night he helped him get past the hills.
These hills are situated very close to Kanainatchala. It's about 20 minutes drive from there, or maximum half an hour drive from there. Very close. There's a waterfall. It's a big range of mountains. Like, how do I describe it? I've not gone close to the mountain range in Gurgaon while coming from Vrindavan to Delhi, but just like you see this long round mountain range, like that you have this very long mountain range near Kanainatchala. Very high also, pretty high. But you can get close there, and then there's a big waterfall there. We don't know the exact region where Sanatan Goswami stayed, but we know that it's in these mountain ranges.
Should I read, Prabhu?
Yes. I mean, we are over time, but we'll just read for a few more minutes and take some, what is it? Some questions or reflections.
When Sanatan emerged from the hills, he requested his servant to go home with the one coin he still had with him, for Sanatan decided he would go on alone. After the departure of his servant, Sanatan felt completely free. With torn clothing and with a water pot in his hand, he proceeded toward Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. On the way, he met his rich brother-in-law, who was also in the government service, and who offered him an excellent blanket, which Sanatan accepted at his special request. Then he departed from him and went on alone to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Banaras. When he reached Banaras, Sanatan learned that the Lord was there, and he became overjoyed. He was informed by the people that the Lord was staying at the house of Chandrasekhar, and Sanatan went there. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was inside the house, he could understand that Sanatan had arrived at the door, and he asked Chandrasekhar to call in the man who was sitting there. He is a Vaishnav, a great devotee of the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Chandrasekhar could see the man, but he saw no Vaishnav at the door. He saw only a man who appeared to be a Muslim mendicant. The Lord then asked to see the mendicant, and when Sanatan entered the courtyard, Lord Chaitanya hurriedly came out to receive him and embrace him. When the Lord embraced him, Sanatan became overwhelmed with spiritual ecstasy, and he said, "My dear Lord, please do not touch me." But they embraced each other and began to cry. Seeing Sanatan and Lord Chaitanya acting thus, Chandrasekhar was struck with wonder. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then asked Sanatan to sit down with him on a bench. The Lord was touching the body of Sanatan with his hand, and again Sanatan asked him, "My dear Lord, please do not touch me. I am touching you just for my purification," the Lord replied, "for you are a great devotee. By your devotional service, you can deliver the whole universe and enable everyone to go back to Godhead." The Lord then quoted a nice verse from the Vedic literature stating that a person who is a devotee of Lord Krishna and is 100% engaged in devotional service is far better than a Brahman who is versed in all the Vedic literatures but who does not engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Because the devotee carries the Supreme Lord within his heart, he can purify every place and everything. The Vedic literature also states that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not recognize a non-devotee who is very learned in all the divisions of the Vedas, but he likes a devotee even if he was born in a low family. If one offers charity to a Brahmin who is not a devotee, the Lord does not accept it. But if something is offered to a devotee, the Lord accepts. In other words, whatever a person wishes to offer the Lord may be given to his devotees. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also quoted Srimad Bhagavatam to the effect that even if a Brahman was born in a high family and is qualified with the 12 Brahminical qualities, he is lower than the lowest of the low if he is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Although a devotee may have been born in a Chandal dog-eater family, by devotional service, he can purify his whole family for 100 generations, past and future, whereas a proud Brahman cannot purify even himself. Lord Chaitanya then said to Sanatan, quoting the Hari Bhakti Sudhoday 13.2, Akshano phalam twadrisha darshanam hi तनोः फलं त्वादृश गात्र संगः जिह्वा फलं त्वादृश कीर्तनम ही सुदुर्लभा भागवता ही लोके. O devotee of the Lord, to see you is the perfection of the eyes. To touch your body is the perfection of bodily activities. And to glorify your qualities is the perfection of the tongue. For it is very rare to find a pure devotee like you. Next, the Lord told Sanatan, Krishna is very merciful and is the deliverer of fallen souls. He has saved you from Maharorav. Srimad Bhagavatam describes Maharorav as a hell meant for persons engaged in killing animals. For it is stated there that butchers and animal eaters go to that hell. I do not know the mercy of Krishna, Sanatan replied, but I can understand that your mercy upon me is causeless. You have delivered me from the entanglement of material life. Then the Lord asked, how did you get free from custody? I understand that you were arrested. Sanatan then narrated the whole story of his release. The Lord then informed him, I saw your two brothers and advised them to proceed towards Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya then introduced Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra to Sanatan. And Tapan Mishra pleasantly invited Sanatan to dine with him. The Lord requested Chandrasekhar to take Sanatan to a barber and make him gentle, for Sanatan had grown a long beard which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like. He asked Chandrasekhar Sanatan not only with a bath and clean shave, but with a change of clothes as well. After Sanatan had bathed, Chandrasekhar offered him some good cloth. When Lord Chaitanya was informed that Sanatan had not accepted the new garments but later accepted only some used garments from Tapan Mishra, he was very glad. Lord went to Tapan Mishra's house for lunch and asked him to keep food for Sanatan. Tapan Mishra did not offer Sanatan food immediately, however, but after the Lord had finished eating, there were some remnants of his food, and those remnants were offered to Sanatan while the Lord took his rest. After resting, Lord Chaitanya introduced a Maharashtrian Brahman, a devotee of his, to Sanatan, and that Brahman invited Sanatan to accept lunch daily at his place as long as he remained in Banaras. As long as I remain in Banaras, I will beg from door to door, Sanatan said. But the Lord will be so glad as to accept this invitation for daily lunch at your house. Lord Chaitanya was very much pleased by this behavior of Sanatan's, but he noticed the valuable blanket that had been given to him by his brother-in-law while Sanatan was en route to Banaras. Although Lord Chaitanya did not say anything about the blanket, Sanatan understood that he did not approve of such a valuable garment on his body, and therefore Sanatan decided to get rid of it. He immediately went to the bank of the Ganges, and there he saw a mendicant washing an old quilt. When Sanatan asked him to trade the old quilt for the valuable blanket, the poor mendicant thought that Sanatan was joking with him. How is this? The mendicant replied. You appear to be a very nice gentleman, but you are mocking me in this unmannerly way. I'm not joking with you, Sanatan informed him. I'm very serious. Will you kindly exchange your torn quilt for this blanket? Finally, the mendicant exchanged his torn quilt for the blanket, and Sanatan returned to the Lord. Where is your valuable blanket? The Lord immediately inquired. Sanatan informed him about the exchange, and the Lord loved him for this and thanked him. You are intelligent enough, and you have now exhausted all your attraction for material wealth. In other words, the Lord accepts a person for devotional service only when he is completely free from all material possessions. The Lord then told Sanatan, it would not look good for you to be a mendicant and beg from door to door with such a valuable blanket on your body. It is contradictory, and people would look on it with abhorrence. Whatever I am doing to become free from material attachment is all your mercy, Sanatan replied. The Lord was very much pleased with him, and they discussed spiritual advancement. Previous to this meeting between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatan Goswami, the Lord had met a householder devotee named Ramananda Raya. At that meeting, which is discussed in a later chapter, Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Rai questions, and Ramananda replied as if he were the Lord's teacher. However, in this case, Sanatan put questions to the Lord, and the Lord answered them. The instructions of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatan Goswami are very important for people in general. The Lord taught him the process of devotional service, which is the constitutional occupation of every living entity. Because this is so, it is every man's duty to advance in spiritual science. Many subjects were thoroughly discussed in the talks between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatan Goswami. Due to the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, Sanatan was able to put important questions before him, and these questions were replied to properly. The meeting of Sanatan Goswami and Lord Chaitanya teaches us that to understand spiritual subject matters, one must approach a spiritual master like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and make submissive inquiries. This is confirmed in the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita 4.34, where Lord Krishna says that one should approach a man of authority and learn the spiritual science from him. That's the end of chapter 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Mapsi. So, we see here how Sanatan Goswami is not attached to the blanket actually, because he's a pure devotee. He just accepted, as it is mentioned, he just accepted the gift from his brother-in-law. Because of his brother-in-law having offered it, he accepted it. But when he saw that it is preferable to give it up, he gave it up. So So this is the mood of a devotee, that he is ready to reject anything that is unfavorable. Or here in this particular case, uh, it was Lord Chaitanya. I mean, he knew that this is not preferable according to the desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So therefore, I mean, here he saw that that this is not preferable according to the situation that he was in with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he gave it up very uh, very gladly. This is the mood of a devotee. Whatever is necessary, the devotee is willing to do. Any thoughts, questions, reflections?
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Yes,
Guruji,
Madhu.
could you just elaborate on Lord accepts a person for devotional service only when he is completely free from all material possessions?
Yeah. Technically, the bhakti starts from the point of liberation, actually. But that's why Prabhupada said that, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is happening is that we don't have the qualification to be a high court judge. The qualification for bhakti is first of all liberation, actually. But we are not yet liberated. But as Prabhupada would say, I'm placing you on the high court judge's seat. Now acquire the qualifications. You know, so in Kali Yuga, nobody has the qualifications. So we are being given something in advance, like the position of the judge, like that, right? So we are already being placed in a situation, and we are being given the opportunity to purify ourselves. That's what it means. So pure devotee, devotional, those who practice pure devotional service, they're nishkinchanas. They don't have any. I mean, their material possessions here means that they don't have any sense of anything is theirs. They have the full sense that everything is Krishna's. And that is the meaning which is being spoken about here.
Guruji, Chaitanya
Prabhupada in his
Mahaprabhu.
books also, Prabhupada in his books and purports, he mentions in several places. Bhakti actually begins after liberation. He speaks about all these things. I mean, when it
So
says
Chaitanya,
actually begins, does not mean that till then the bhakti is not as starting. But conventionally, it was like that. Yes, sir.
okay.
Please go.
So even Lord Chaitanya, I was just little, surprised that Lord Chaitanya also does not accept anyone who is, who is not Nishkinchan. So I was was
Yeah, I mean,
thinking.
it's a fact. He may be Patita Pavan, but he's very particular. No, the condition for acceptance is you should have the desire to become Nishkinchan. If you don't have the desire to become Nishkinchan, Lord Chaitanya does not accept, right?
Mhm.
He is simultaneously very merciful. He is merciful in the sense that he is willing to accept anybody. But there is one condition, provided they are willing to become Nishkinchana. That's it. That without the willingness, he does not accept. Of course, you could say like how when Guru Maharaj is talking about the passion to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how when he went to South India, he would simply go and hug somebody on the street. So those are extraordinary pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they would attain the Krishna Prema. Those are extraordinary. That's called the Kripa Siddhi. But otherwise, Lord Chaitanya does not accept unless one is willing to come to the platform of, unless one has the desire to become Nishkinchana. No. He's merciful in the sense that irrespective of who, anybody who desires is, desire becomes the eligibility. Normally, desire cannot be the eligibility anywhere else. Like you have a desire to get into IAS examination. I become an IAS officer. Desire to become an IAS officer does not make you an IAS officer. You need to undergo rigorous training. Desire does not make you an IAS officer. But that is the distinction with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The desire makes you receive his mercy. But the desire has to be there. I want pure love of Godhead. I don't want anything material. Then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestows his mercy. You don't have to go through all the qualifications of being an IAS officer, right? To become, you just have to have the desire. So without desire, that's why it is said that even if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna Kaviraj Goswami says Even if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is physically present in front of you, you will fall down unless you desire not to fall down. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami makes this point. So, while it is freely accessible to everybody, but there's a price. So, the Mahavadanya feature of it is indiscriminately he makes everyone eligible if they desire. It is not unconditional, it is conditional. He is going behind everybody telling them, please take this. But what should you take? You should take that, okay, I want love of God and nothing else. That is what he's running. He's running behind, okay, here, take this. Here's an opportunity to become the High Court judge. Come on, take this, take this, take this. That's what he's doing. But if you say, I want this and that and all that, and I also take this, that you will not get. I'm not saying you, generally I'm saying. Yeah, you're not going to get that. That's why Jagai Madai also, he accepted under one condition, right? They will not get back to any of their ways and simply practice pure devotional service.
Yes, Prabhuji, I get it. Thank you so much.
What else? What are the questions or thoughts or reflections? Okay, then we'll end for today and we'll resume again next Thursday. Thank you all for joining. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhudevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande.
Thank you, Prabhuji.